This meeting, our meetings are recorded for future viewing, and we are privileged to gather on the traditional territory of the Kwakwaka'wakw. I'll call the meeting to order and ask if there are any additions or amendments to the agenda. Seeing none, can I have a motion, please, to accept the agenda as presented? Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, this evening for petitions and delegations, we have Gord Oppen and also Jay Ruka, who's doing the talking about from the Gatehouse Theatre. So welcome this evening. Thanks for coming, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Pick up
Yeah, this thing hinders kind of doing this.
It does.
Anyway, my sincere thanks for letting me come and present to you. This is a privilege and an honor to get to do this for the first time. A little bit intimidating. I've come to you to try to hopefully get your support on two issues. The first one's simple. It's a brief review of the outcome of the festival and a request that you grant us the opportunity to do so again next year and begin the planning so that we're not kind of trying to accomplish it in 3 weeks like we did this summer. The second is to table our application under the COVID relief grant. We have a specific area of urgent pressing need for the theater infrastructure that I'd like to share with you. But there's some other news along the way that is worth sharing with you as well, like the evolution of the theater. So the next slide is a brief agenda, a mission statement, our team, and we'll get to that in a minute. Our focus items for 2022, a simple page on the festival results. The target application for the COVID relief is the ailing furnace, and the application for assistance I've emailed this afternoon to Connor. I brought hard copy as well if you like, and a quick summary. So that's our agenda. A mission statement you can read for yourself, but it's certainly broader than just being a facility. We feel we have an obligation to not only promote the arts, but engage our residents and our taxpayers in them and find creative ways to expose it to the young adults in particular, because we perceive that if we get the kids, the parents will follow. But equally important, if we've done a good job of engaging the younger adults and community members and teenagers and high school age kids, then we've begun to build, our inventory of the next year's volunteers. So it's a worthwhile cause, and we're proud to be able to give it our best effort to have this theater be a part of the appeal of Portland for both tourists and residents, and maybe young families moving on, seniors retiring. We think it's a component of our attractiveness. We have some really exciting news to share with you. We recognize that our board and our society suffers from a lot of what other societies are going through. They're very often made up of 65-year-old volunteers. It's quite common that that's the average age group of a board of that kind of society. And then we've been somewhat guilty of that ourselves. And the challenge is that you kind of pander to that age group, not perhaps intentionally, but those are your likes. Those are the things you migrate towards. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had a call for applications to become a board member of the Gatehouse. We were overwhelmed. We got 8 of them, 9 in this one. We made our decisions 2 nights ago. So this is hot off the press. And you see below, we have a number of new individuals that have stepped forward, each with their own set of skills. Crystal, you probably know him from the hardware store. Andrew Wilson, you probably know him from the other hardware store. Kat Hunt comes from a long lineage of community involvement with her mom. Karen Walker, we've had some exposure to with her help on the festival. Shelby Keane, as a young girl, was very involved in the theater as a performer. Mary Louise Albert is a very gifted, accomplished, had been a theater manager for a dance company in Vancouver, but has wonderful credentials. And we hope that her involvement really kind of amplifies the focus on dance. For the longest time, we've been partnered with Alana. But that's kind of one kind of channel, right? And Alana's program. So this this opens up a whole bunch of new opportunities for us. And Dawn Bristol, by the way, is applied as well. And she's just come back from theater at school in Vancouver, I believe, specifically for dance. So we're really excited about that. There's fresh ideas, that level of energy and enthusiasm that, you know, I can't muster. So we're excited about that. Okay, here's some of the things that we're looking forward to delivering this year. The Missoula's Theater is scheduled for, I think that got updated. I think it's actually April now. However, Missoula for 2 years has been canceled. And there was a concern and an apprehension that if we did finally get back to doing the Missoula Children's Theater, that it would be all remote control. It would be by a Zoom and cameras and so on. But Missoula is coming up. They're coming in person, and we will deliver a live, young adults play on Friday and Saturday night, culminating in their week-long training. So we're really happy about that change. We have made a number of grant applications to the Touring Arts Council and Creative BC to fund both a winter-spring series of concerts and a summer series of concerts. So 2 different grant applications. The summer ones will intend to be outdoors. There was a recent study that they did, the Arts Council of BC, and they surveyed the general population just perhaps not longer than 6 months ago, and they found that 87% of the people they surveyed still have a reluctance to go to an indoor event. So we acknowledge that, and we think that this idea of a movable outdoor kind of a concert, not a whole extravaganza festival, just a concert, you know, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, kind of one band. We think that may have some appeal. I think it may have play a component in our, you know, our attractiveness or mental health, all those things. Into 2022, we're going to focus more on dance with the help of these new board members. We have some ambitious plans for what the next year's festival will look like. Not bigger, just better. Bigger doesn't equate to better. I think just better organized. And the one looming on us right now is this furnace upgrade. I wonder if the next page was from, I think this is the one. Here's the financials. So yeah, I was encouraged to make sure I came well aligned with this because the function of this application for the COVID relief funds, it needs to show that your organization really is in distress. And I'd like to show you that 2019 was the last full year where things were going, you know, kind of okay. Mind you, we had big expenses in that year too, so it didn't really put a positive bank balance at the end of that year. That was the year that we did the handicap ramp and the washroom upgrades and the seating up. So we chewed through a lot of money there, but there were important and long-standing improvements to the facility. 2021, you know, looks impressive, but I need to draw your attention to the fact that, you know, most of that money came out of the festival, and we still have a fairly large liability or debt to pay back, and that is the investment in the drive-in movie system. That system cost us $34,000. We still have a balance of approximately $12,000 that we're paying down over time, and our benefactor on that was Aaron Gabrish. So we've already spent a portion of the proceeds from the music festival. We had followed a little utility trailer. We had a tour of the drive-in movie system all over the North Island. So we're excited about that, but financially we are injured. And to add another further complication, as we host events like the Eagles coming up and the kids theater arts curriculum is ongoing now, and simple things like the matinee movies and open mic, the protocols for cleaning after each one of these things are intense. And we can't do anything other than overdo them if we're to hope to always be compliant, never at risk, and never suspect as the cause of creating any kind of a spread. So we have to overdo it rather than underdo it. So that now we find out is going to bring us significant net new costs into the now and going forward. And we've been fortunate that folks like Cheryl and Muriel have been doing all of that with volunteers. But I have to confess, it's weighing heavily on them, and it's burning them up. So we recognize that we have to pay for that service. Here's a recap of the festival. A total of 845 tickets were distributed. About 650 were sold, and the balance were for our corporate sponsors. You know, there's a number that's not on this chart that we're sharing with you. This initially was launched and finalized and concluded, and it didn't have a nickel of grant money. It supported itself. Now, after the fact, folks came forward. We got late breaking news that going with the call through with the province and our organization called Sound On came forward for 4,000. But, you know, on its closing hour of the day, the morning after, it was self-sustaining. So we're extremely proud of it. But we don't get credit for that because we raised $27,000 from our business leaders in Port McPhail. And that is something that we should all be really proud of because it didn't come from TELUS or, you know, any of these giant companies. It came from our business community, our mid-sized companies. So I think perhaps that's the part I'm proudest about, is to see that our business leaders rally. We paid out $12,000 in artist fees and technical fees, and the people at the Arts Council really love to see that we're paying a fair wage to these people to get the music industry back alive. Net proceeds of 22, which we, you know, right now we're probably beaten down to about 12, some of the expenses and bills that we had to accommodate. But the next slide will show you where we're in dire straits. We have a 45-year-old furnace in the theater. The last time we had to get a part for it, Art Hamilton had to buy it from a junk dealer in Wisconsin. Once upon a time, the theater had in-floor heating in its day, but this would have been prior to Terry Icefield launching it as the gatehouse and kind of bringing her vision to it. So even then, it didn't work. So it's no great surprise that a lot of people have made a habit of coming to the gatehouse and bringing their blankie. Because it's that cool. And so what it has now is an antiquated old electric forced air furnace trying to heat, you know, it's probably 7,000 square feet with a 30-foot ceiling. So it's kind of a losing battle. Our hydro bills have continued to go up, and they're about $500 a month now. Now, the good news is that there's some incentives there that are readily available to help us make part of the change and soften the blow. BC Hydro may be able to take a grant more than two. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask the chairman to mention the time limits we have for presentations.
I'll ask council if it is okay with council. We can vote to continue if that's all right. So motion to just allow 5 extra minutes.
Thanks so much. Okay.
All those in favor?
I'll be expedient. We are fortunate to have a new family that's moved into Port McGill, a young gentleman, Sean Mercer, who works for Simcoe. Simcoe is the company that we rely on at the rink to maintain the ammonia plant and the cooling system. That same company also does heat pumps. And this young gentleman has stepped forward and said, I would like to volunteer all my labor to accomplish this with you. I'll help you buy the stuff. If you buy it from, you know, some of the bigger installers, they'll mark it up 50%. I'll help you greatly improve it from that. And I'll donate all of my time as a licensed practitioner of this technology to help you do it. So in the absence of that, it might not even be, you know, within our reach. We'll also complement that with a GoFundMe campaign, and we've got some expectations that we might be able to raise 3,000 or 4,000 through that. Really. The interesting thing about this is that it would provide a great muster point for the town. It would be air conditioned in the summer. And, you know, we all saw those stories last summer of the heat waves and some of the casualties and fatalities that came out of it. So it would be nice to have this facility at the township's disposal. The last page, I think, is why don't we maybe go back? That's it. You know, I've made my best case for you. I came here with no. I kind of felt that I had nothing to lose. We don't have the funding to pull this off today. I know that if the furnace rolls over and dies tonight, we're going to be in dire straits. So I thought it was worthwhile to come in front of you. I know that you all have your own view on the positive benefit the theater contributes to town. So in closing, I've asked for a couple of things for the allowance for the planning of the festival to proceed for 2022. And I hope that you might consider our grant for the COVID relief funds. I hope that this project is in line with what you had intended to do. So thanks for your attention. Any questions for?
Just before I go to questions, just a reminder, I know that we had a conversation, so if you can put your request for having the music festival on, we'll put it on the next agenda, because we normally at delegations don't make a decision. And then you said you already handed the grant application to staff, so that will be on the following agenda.
Right.
Great. And questions for Bart from anybody?
Do you have a date kicking around for the festival next year?
For the, I love that same weekend there for a couple of reasons. It doesn't conflict with Orca Fest. And historically, you know, for the last 4 years, it's been a surprisingly great weather day. I love that it's, you know,
Way to jinx it.
But, you know, I'm okay with that too, because any good festival is going to get a little bit of rain, so I'm okay with that too. It's not carved in stone at all. I think it's quite flexible, but we have been fortunate that weekend has been that.
I'm just putting this out there, but would you guys consider some sort of deposit on the field? I mean, that is a concern of mine, and so I don't know if you've considered that or whatever, but.
I observed the minutes from a previous meeting where this, you know, you're working on refreshing your agreement with the Steelfish Association.
Yeah.
And that's a concern about damage, so. Yes, we would fully expect that a damage deposit would be the cost of doing business.
But just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, then thanks very much for coming this evening. Really appreciate that, Bart.
And may we excuse ourselves now?
Absolutely, yeah.
No.
No, you have to sit through the whole thing.
Thanks.
We had to sit through your presentation. You have to sit. through
Yeah.
it.
You're great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 4A, minutes of November 2nd, 2021, special council meeting. Are there any amendments? And if not, can I have a motion, please, to adopt?
Adopt?
Seconder for that one? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Minutes, item 4B, minutes of November 9th, 2021, regular council meeting. There's no changes. Motion to adopt. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on then to item 7A, reports for October 2021, the checklisting. Any questions? Or?
I have a question. I see a number of listings for drainage assessment. What's that all about?
Is Julian here tonight?
Well, one of them is on the
Sanitary, I believe it says.
very bottom of the page,
Of which numbered page, please?
17 of 62.
Okay, yeah, drainage assessment.
Does that help?
Andrew Sherritt.
I'm not familiar. I've had some back in public works manager. She did. So there's
There's several payments to that. I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, and if these questions come ahead of time, then staff can be prepared, but we will get that answer to council. And any other questions on that?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Page 16. At the bottom, Lindstone and Company Legal Services. There's $7,666. I'd like to make a motion. Council be presented with those bills, and I assume in camera for us to review.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. Having said that, though, I'm sure you can go into the office at any time and ask to see anything that's on here. You can go in and you can ask exactly what that was for. Okay.
Great.
Anything else? Great. Motion to receive and I guess to receive. Seconded, on favor. Opposed, carried. 7D, Public Works Operation Report. Again, Julian's not here. If you have any questions, we'll have to get those answers back to you, but otherwise.
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. Regarding the capital projects on page 24, sort sort of midway there, Hemlock Streets sanitary sewer upgrade project planning and design complete. So my assumption that's for the underground works. But I believe in coordination with that, we were going to do a sidewalk project there. I did see Julian and the engineer sort of like discussing what it would look like. And so I'm wondering if we could get a bit of a presentation of what the design will look like before it gets engineered, et cetera, et cetera. You know, when I was talking with them, they were talking about a raised cement grass island between the bus stop and the road. And, you know, I just don't know what it looks like. And I think on a big project like that, you know, I believe it was 300-something thousand for the active transportation projects. Like, so there was no specifics in the application that I saw what it would look like. So I'm just hoping, I guess my request is that Julian could give us an update on what the design of this sidewalk project looks like. You guys follow me?
Am I missing? Is it more than just a sidewalk?
Well, okay, I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
It could be, there's a bus stop there. Is the sidewalk in front of the bus stop? Is it behind the bus stop? Is there an opportunity to put a bike lane in there, or it's going to be a grass median? Or
So it's something that we had talked about around the council table, which is one of the reasons why that grant application was chosen for that stretch. And yes, I believe it is for, like, first we're doing that upgrade, the sewer upgrade, and then the sidewalk will go in afterwards. So you're looking for a motion just to see the design of that?
design
Yeah.
update for the active transportation plan on Hemlock Street.
When available, because we
Sure.
don't know if he's at that stage yet. He might still be at the sewer stage, right? Okay.
I know, but it's like they could work together or they could be done totally opposite, you know.
I think the intent from
Yeah.
speaking with Julian is that it was intended to be together to
Yeah.
keep the cost savings.
So mine, I think they maybe do the underground work and then the other part might come later, but just.
Do you want to type that out then, a motion then to,
For active transportation project, Hemlock Street active transportation
project
update,
report,
design
yeah.
update.
Design update.
Start again? Sure. Active transportation plan project on Hemlock Street. Design upgrade or a design update
Motion, yeah.
for Public
To
Works,
see the design update for the active transportation project on Hemlock Street.
however you want.
Yeah, however, so long as we capture it, doesn't matter, before or after. Okay. Julian, yeah. So moved, seconded? Sure, okay. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to see the motion. Need to put in who's gonna do this.
Just read the report
To be
from
provided.
Julian. Yeah,
Okay.
to be provided by Julian on the active transportation project plan. Okay. Seconder for that? Oh, sorry, that's right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Anything else? Nothing else, then move receipt of the Public Works Manager's report. Seconded, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 7C, Fire Department report. Numbers are still up. Go ahead. Okay.
By that you mean highway rescues?
No, I meant the total members. So, all those in favor of receipt?
Sorry.
Opposed? Okay, next we have item 7D, community hall meeting tables. So as you know, we're having our meetings here at the hall, and these tables are very cumbersome and usually take at least 2 staff to help set up. And as an aside, we're, especially now with the, one with the size of the community hall and now having Wi-Fi, I think ours will be much more desirable for others to meet. So council, or not council, staff is looking that the town purchase 7 tables for the use of the community hall. Though I would argue we probably should get more because I'm thinking about Waddington Health work and that network and that, and we've also just done our floor, and it would probably save our floor because I can see some scratches where things are dragged across. So what's your pleasure, council? What would you like to do?
We leave things as is.
Seconder for that?
For discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, Mayor Wickstrom, I was just curious, you mentioned new tables in the past a few times. Like, is that what you had in mind, the style of the table? Or to me, I was thinking something more grandiose, like for rentals.
Yeah, I think for my idea was round tables for holding events, but I mean, that might not be the case for a little while, and certainly round tables would work for us here. And I think we would have to have both anyway, because there are two different styles of meetings that take place. So we have things like Waddington Health Work and different organizations using it. They prefer these tables, and then round tables for events.
I don't see a case for replacing tables that are probably, I guess, 15, 20 years old, that are very serviceable, that you already paid for, with tables. And I looked at the chosen one that I saw, and that's, I wouldn't say it's garbage, but it's definitely light duty domestic use product with a tabletop that actually folds in two, so then you lose the ability to use the whole surface because you're going to crack in the middle of your table. And they're light, they won't stand up, and they certainly won't last 20 years. These tables are fine, and I'll tell you, if it's just a matter of it's difficult for staff to set 7 tables up for these meetings, I'll come half an hour early and do it myself. I don't mind. If that's really all this is about, because these are good tables, and I don't see any reason to trash them for something that's obviously substandard compared to what we currently have in terms of the quality and the integrity of the product. And these are doing the job. I love them. And it's taxpayers' money. We're just going to 3 years from now be throwing them things out.
I know that there's different qualities. There's some that you can buy just yourself, and then there's some that are used more for industrial type use. I personally look at the floor and I see the scratches on the floor, and I see what we, the investment that we made, and that equally hurts my heart. So anyway, it's going to be a council majority decision.
If I could continue, like just looking at this design, it doesn't look like you can sit in it this way. It looks like you have to sit in it this way. I don't know if you see where I'm sitting.
That's a 7-foot table. That's just a really bad picture.
7 foot
I
this
think
way.
70, it says 72 inches, I think.
22 by 30.
Yeah, my gut reaction was, if we're going to do tables, I would rather see some options, or like a higher end table. Like I've seen systems that come out on a trolley or something, you know, that are a little more serviceable. But I'm kind of like with Ryan, if, you know, I really don't like those tables. There's no writing, nothing with them wiggling around. So I could just sort of, style's fine with me setting my own table up.
And what we have is serviceable.
And I guess another question, is Public Works coming in here an hour ahead and turning the heat on anyways? Like those guys are used to lifting stuff. Maybe they could set it up.
Yeah, you have to also think that it takes them away from other work as well, but I'll ask staff what the current system is.
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom, through the chair. So currently with this setup we have, we're having to send typically Connor and one other individual from the office, just so that we don't drag the tables to set up. Typically it's after lunch. So today you were gone from 2:30 until almost 5. Some of that was technical. So I would say it's probably about an hour for 2 people that should be doing. And Public Works, we haven't implemented them simply for what you said, they're often out doing something else. With the amount of meetings we're currently having, plus the amount of time that we're renting out this fall, you know, this is now getting to be a couple of things.
I guess I'll ask council, is there any appetite to go back into council chambers or not?
That was kind of my next question. Yeah, are we doubling down here or not?
If it's properly upgraded to include adequate ventilation and perhaps push a wall out somewhere, so there's a bit
Move
more
the
room,
post? Sorry.
then I have no appetite for it at this point, but you know, things change. We're still in a pandemic. We're at stage 3 recovery process of a pandemic. And when we get to the end of stage 4, things might look a lot different than they look today. So that appetite will probably change.
My thought is, from a risk assessment point of view, I see where staff is going with this. I have one of these tables. Yeah. And fish. I can't do it.
Can I have these tables?
One of those folders.
Oh.
I can turn it over
Yeah.
and do the locks. I can't physically pick it up by myself. And from a safety protocol, maybe there should be 2 people coming up here, not just one person going into an empty room. Depends what the policy is for check-ins and everything else. I'm not convinced that these would be the right ones. I do understand because I've loved these for many years in many halls. And I wouldn't trash it myself because somebody would want them. But I agree with what you're saying, even for when you go to conferences, a lot of times you go to a conference and you're at a round table. So I support the idea of getting something lighter weight. I just think that it's not this. Exactly.
I do want to say that I've seen both types. Type for camping is really cheap, and I would trust that staff would be getting, I know Uline, which is a company that services businesses. The grade was different. They're just asking for 7 tables. So, anyways, we have a,
$55 a table, I thought.
yeah. Anyway, we have a motion on the table. All right, so all of those in favor of the motion to just stick with these tables and not purchase it. That was your motion, correct?
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we have item 7E, use of the Mantic and Centennial ball fields. We've got a report here. I think Councillor Cole, you were a part of this discussion as well. But we have the fields formerly were used solely by the ball club. We're now COVID, people wanting to do more activities outside. Yeah, I can see the public wanting to use these as well, and it seems that there might be some sort of a balance that we can find. So Councillor Cole, did you want to add anything to this as you were part of that discussion with the ball club?
No, not particularly with regards to the point. The report, that's accurate. I do have some opinions, but I'm interested in the rest of council's feelings on this.
Well, when we picked rocks to make the one top in high school, because it was done at the same time as the track. And years after that, Sunset and Miss both used to use that football field during the school season. The slow pitch league definitely has been there, done that. Helped. I had a family reunion a few years ago in Cumberland, and I had to pay I think, a $35 fee so we could have a family baseball game because it was during summer. And I called Cumberland, the municipal hall, told them what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it. They had an events calendar, or they had someone that they spoke with at their field association. Because we also remember soccer. And then they got back to us and said, yep, no problem. Basically give us a check and you can have it from here to here, be on your merry way. I don't like being on a ball team and you you only sweat for a day, cleaning it up, and then you see somebody in there running around with their dog, even if it's a good dog, and they're just trying to keep it contained. But I also don't like seeing the fields just there and nothing happening. So I think there are facilities, we have to figure out a way to manage it within, because it can't just be slow pitch. What if the hardball association decides to get up and going before fastball guys, and they want to use it? So how do you just balance that?
So it could be, rather than a formalized use agreement with a slow pitch, it could just be some sort of a use policy you're suggesting.
I think, because we're just public works permits, right? Like the ball field people get together, pick the rocks and, do the infield and get the posts in the ground for the safety bags. And it's kind of a day, at least at the beginning of the season, or it used to be. So if they do that work and somebody else comes in, or if they don't do that work, then who does that? And what's the liability from an insurance point of view? Sorry, from an insurance point of view, because if somebody breaks their ankle, run into the safety bag because there's a divot, where does that all factor in as well? Yeah.
Oh, you want to mention that?
Well, I was
Is it
thinking,
something, is it something that's been looked at or has been kind of researched or, is there?
slow pitch has their own insurance as well, correct?
That is correct, but the county is covered by general liability insurance for all of our facilities.
So the recommendation says here that the town of Port McNeill enter into a formalized use agreement with the slow pitch and that other users be allowed access to the ball fields on a deposit, rental, or key sign-out basis. So I would just ask staff, if you were to do that, bring that back to us for. Okay, okay, Councillor Mitchell and then Councillor Cole.
I was gonna make the motion that we develop a policy for the use of the ball fields. That we direct staff to do that. I'm not sure that it includes having a specific agreement with the slow pitch, sort of like they're special, or if it's more all encompassing, I don't know. But I would like to move that. Direct staff to prepare a usage agreement for that facility.
Seconder for that.
For discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Cole.
I think the slow pitch, they want a solid agreement if they're going to invest in the fields and they want some exclusive use. So I've given some thought. I feel like we should give them exclusive use of the Centennial Field here and keep the other field open, as in the gate open and everything. And somebody can still rent it and book it. But that's a big barrier to rent it and go get a key. Like, it just keeps people from playing, So I think it's pretty fair to say one's going to have dog poo on it once in a while, and this one isn't. They did bring up the dog park, which is maybe a whole nother discussion, like the fact that it's unfenced and it's around this field. But so an exclusive deal down here, and maybe a shared use on the other one.
And that, I was gonna leave it open, so maybe you guys could all talk about it and come up with, those who are familiar with it, with a policy, rather than hamstring it and say, do it this way. Just leave it kind of open so you could draft something up that works.
I think that's what we've done, and probably staff is looking for direction. Well, if our policy is going to be, yes, they get exclusive use, they'll develop a policy. But if we're just going to say develop a policy based on, they need proper direction. So it's kind of.
Yeah, and I think they formalized, from what I understood, sorry to interrupt you, are you done? Okay, sorry about that. I think the formalized use is, what you were saying. Does the ball field, the slow pitch, will they do something? What do they get in return? And I think your comment is that they got exclusive use on this one, and then the other one was still open for others to use from the general public, and that would be a bit of a give and take. Right?
Frankly, we didn't discuss the one field and the other, like it just kind of came to me a little while ago. So we could throw it back to them. Are you going to agree? Do you agree on that? Because when we left, it was like they were cool to rent out the key when they're not using it, and staff would know who took the key and wrecked the field that time, but, you know, at some point, we gotta have some faith in our community, and yes, there's gonna be a kid ripping through there on his bike once in a while or whatever, but that field is a lot more closely monitored with people going by and the school and whatnot, whereas down here, nobody lives down here. It's tucked away, as we know, so. So, yeah, I'm not sure I support your motion, Ryan, but I'd be willing to.
I just want to leave it open because I don't see a report that I can say this is what they want the agreement to look like. It's not clear to me that there's a consensus among the participants at this point. So I just can say, let's direct staff to make an agreement, bring it to us, see if it's something we can support, and we'll vote for it.
Okay, so you're asked for a policy though, and there, what I hear you saying now is that some sort of an agreement, use agreement with them, so.
Well, I'm not in favor of it, anything at this point. I don't see enough here to make a decision on. So bring us something. So this is what we want to do exactly.
I have a suggestion, but there is a motion on the table, so I'll call the question on the motion. So of staff developing policy, all those in favor?
Do we see the motion?
Remember the implications if this gets voted down.
Well, I have a second, I'll do like another motion. Nope, I have a suggestion, but I have to call the question first on this one before I can do that.
Good, thank you.
All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, are you opposed or?
Close to general.
Okay, all right, so the motion is defeated. Here's what I suggest then, that the town of Port McNeill develop a formalized facility use agreement with the Port McNeill Slow Pitch League, and that other users be allowed to access the ball fields, or no, just never mind, skip that because that'll be part of that thing. So just that the town of Port McNeill develop a formalized facility use agreement with the Port McNeill Slow Pitch League to bring to. For council's consideration. A discussion on that? I think that's what you were asking staff.
I was not.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of giving, of leaving out the rest of the community, and that's what this does. So I'm opposed to that.
Well, then I can add, and that other users be allowed to access the ball fields on a deposit rental or key sign out basis. So just what the recommendation says. Get a copy and paste.
Really was kind of to keep it with the key, and then we had youth ball that's kind of had its days and then down. Someone doesn't live here anymore. The town would then be the the central. Is that kind of what Randy and them are hoping for?
For public use.
Yeah.
My problem is it's barrier to go get a key and whatnot. I'd rather see them just have the exclusive use of one field, but not being left off the table, so.
Well, no, it hasn't been. I mean, I've just asked them to develop a policy. So staff has heard what we said tonight. I would think that they would take into consideration what we heard and then bring us back a policy that will address the issues you were saying and.
Would the policy just be for whomever?
Not policy, sorry,
Or,
facility
and then-
use agreement.
and then if we could enter into something specifically with the slow pitch where they get exclusive, say Tuesday and Thursday nights, and they get to pick 2 weekends because they do 2 ball tournaments a summer. And then it would go on to like hardball, people could come in and you start to work around. Is that like you'd have your facility rental, if you're going to use ball fields, this is what the expectations are for anybody. Right? And then as a secondary, we could, and if the Slow Pitch Association is still up and running and with an executive and everything, and they want to come and say, hey, we're gonna do a spring cleaning day, and in exchange for that, we want to have Monday, Wednesday nights on the lower field, and we want to be able to use the upper field twice a year for things to multiple.
Just because also it says the formalized use agreement doesn't imply exclusivity. I mean, if another ball club, fast pitch, sorry, I don't know my whole ball lingo. That didn't come out right. Then, you know,
You would
they
enter
just
into
come to
agreement.
us and they enter into agreement with us. Right now, it's just the slow pitch that's asking. So it doesn't mean that they have exclusive rights.
Well, if we enter formally, I guess if the agreement says we can pull at any time for somebody else, or the devil's in the details, I guess.
Well,
but-
no, I think that it's in the communication with them saying that if the fastball club is up and running, then we're gonna have to revisit the, you know, that. And I would make the assumption that that club would be willing to put work into the field as well for the use of the field, so.
To me, I just see we're not tackling the fundamental question, are these gonna be locked up for people to sign out the key and use it, or are they gonna be available for the public? So that's my big stumbling part.
Well, I don't, is this policy defining it that closely right now, or is there going to be some more research done?
I'll defer to staff because they're looking for direction. So if this is what you give us, what was your thought in putting forward this recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. Actually quite closely aligned to Councillor Cole's thoughts of looking for direction from council on whether there's going to be exclusive use of the ball fields, whether we enter into an agreement that says they can use it, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it's open to other users on off days. What sorts of relationship do we want to have with the slow pitch, and staff is looking for council direction on the use of these facilities, so that we can go back to the slow pitch with an idea of this is what council's vision is for the use of these facilities. And then there would be other small details, as Councillor Cole mentioned, you know, the dog pool or the breaking up of the fields is, you know, who would be responsible for repairs if, you know, if we're not having exclusive rights, then I think some of that would have to be going back to town.
I would support this motion if the word fields had an S brackets after the S, so then it implies could be one field, it could be both, but that.
I'm okay with that. Who seconded my motion? Are you okay with that, Nick? All right. And honestly, I would think that, once I call the question on this, if this passes, I would think that a good starting point would ask to be, okay, the ball club, what is it that they would like? And then, you know, you as the liaison could come back and support, well, I don't think you'd have to come back. If they say they want exclusive rights to both, you could just let them know that council isn't looking at.
That is what they want. Exclusive rights to both, except somebody can rent it, or we could loan, sign a key out at the office.
Yeah, just ask a question, I don't play ball, but I can remember when I was a kid, my friends going to the ball field with a ball and a bat and playing a pickup game. They didn't get permission from anybody. There was nobody there. They just went and banged the ball around. And I think that's an activity I would like to see allowed without having to formally go to the town hall. It's Sunday and it's closed and they can't get a key and they can climb the fence or just play in the parking lot somewhere. So maybe we need to have one field anyway. It's kind of relaxed. And so there's a little dog crap on it. For runners, don't go in your bare feet. You know, you don't like to pick it up and chuck it over the fence, whatever. I think, yeah, I'd like to see one field that would be a little more relaxed. And maybe one that's kept pristine for league player, whatever it is that they do.
Okay, okay, so what I think I hear council saying is that you would like to see have a motion made after this, if this gets defeated, one is used for exclusive use, one is open for the public at all times. Is that what I'm hearing?
I wouldn't even say it for me at all times, because I'd say, hey, if they're having a tournament, they need two fields. They should be able to book both fields.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
I know that, but what I hear Councillor Cole saying, and I think I heard you say, was that at least one of them doesn't have a lock key on it.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean that somebody can't book it.
that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So that if we did give that direction to staff to see how they feel about Magic being left unlocked and develop a policy.
Okay, we have changed my mind. So all those in favor of that of that motion? Opposed? There you go. This is what discussion does. All right, so how do we formulate a motion, that the town of Port McNeil develop a use agreement with the Port McNeil Slow Pitch for council's consideration? That's the same, correct? So just copy and paste that. And that other users be allowed. Oh, okay, no, how do I want
I
to?
still think it's gotta be,
Yeah, yeah,
it's gotta be two separate.
or, yeah, okay, so formalized use agreement for, yeah, you're right.
Centennial Field.
Fields.
Yeah,
Come up with an agreement for use
use
of
of the
fields.
fields, yeah,
And then you're gonna have an exclusive agreement.
yes,
I don't
okay,
mean
so
exclusive because.
formalized facility use agreement for the fields, and same like it is up there in brackets. No, keep with the town of Port McNeil then. So formalized use agreements for the fields. No. Grace will go in. That's gonna stay in there on her story. Formalized facility use agreement
Or the
for the
rental,
fields.
or the rental of the fields.
They want you one line up.
One line up, right after-
Neil, I think.
No,
No. Yes. Go over to agreement.
go to agreement. There you go.
There you go.
Excellent.
Maybe we need a laser pointer.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Go ahead. How did you just say that?
A formalized facility use agreement for the fields, the way that you did it above.
Yeah. Bracket down. No, what do you want it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
think
okay.
And then there's a secondary part that is develop a agreement with the Silkage Association
For exclusive use of Centennial and public use,
for the.
unlocked Natick fields.
Use of Centennial Field.
And shared
And
public use.
There you go. Sounds good.
Hostile.
of Magic Field. There you go.
And in that agreement, I mean, I would have no problem at all if at the beginning of the year, they come and they say, hey, we're gonna run an Orca Fest tournament and we're gonna run an icebreaker in May. We want Natick for those 2 weekends.
Yeah.
Giving them that priority to book, say, 2 tournament weekends.
Yeah.
And then if nobody else is booked and they want to book a 3rd one, like beginning April. I mean, they'd have, the Public Works does not have to do a whole lot to those fields for the last 30 years. Because it's been done by volunteers, so.
Yeah, my understanding, they just come in at the beginning of the year and cut the hay down a bit.
Okay, so that's my motion. Thank you for helping me. Are you seconding that then, since you helped craft it? Okay. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. You know what it is? Excellent. Okay. A little bit of a trip to get there, but we got there. Excellent. Okay, I'm 8A. We have bylaws. So the first is for the Tourism Committee, request to be appointed as a commission. So you have the staff report before you. The terms of reference is the current one that is, and then the Tourism Committee bylaw. XXX, what number would it be?
706.
Thank you. 706, 2021.
Again, sorry, this brain's not really working tonight. We give this first and second reading, there's tweaking, then it goes through third and fourth, and then it becomes rule.
If you can review that, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom, to Councilor Barron. Yes, first reading is introduction. Second reading is just general acceptance of the bylaw. If council is completely satisfied with the way the bylaw is written, we could actually do third reading tonight as well. However, I anticipated some tweaks or some changes to the draft bylaw, so I put in first and second reading to allow for those amendments.
I will say after reviewing this, there's one item, and it's actually in both bylaws. It's on page 37, and it's 5 staff liaison. We have some pretty active committees and now 2 commissions. And all of these committees, staff is being provided for minutes. And I don't know if you were on the APC with me, but I was on the APC a number of years ago. Tourism committee, all those things. They normally have a secretary, and then they have a chair and a vice chair, and their secretary takes the minutes. We provide a template for them. I just think for us to be always giving our staff, these are in the evenings. It is every week, isn't it, that there is some sort of a committee meeting. And I'm not in favor of lending our staff, in some cases our high-paid staff, to go and take minutes for these meetings. That's my personal opinion. Councillor Cole,
I agree.
and then Councillor Mitchell. What was that?
I totally agree
Oh, I
with
thought you said for once I agree.
you. No. It's on my list, like staff time for
No.
minutes is insane.
Yeah.
The other thing that I did want to ask about this, what's the budget? I don't see a budget here.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. To Councillor Mitchell. If Mayor and Council wishes to see this as a commission, it would be the purview of the commission to bring forward a budget to council for use at the same time that we adopt the rest of the municipal budget. So they would need to propose a budget for the 2022 year. And then council would have to either accept that budget, amend that budget, or.
Yeah, so a budget, an outline, a business plan per se of what they're going to do, and then they have to also report to us at the end of the year as well. Councillor Cole?
Yes, along that line of questioning, so to our chief administrative officer, so that would definitely include like the MRTD money would be included in that? Is that the intention?
Thank you. Yeah, it is really dependent on council's wishes. If you want to use the MRDT funds towards the tourism commission, if it does become a commission, that would be in your right to either allow them or to still maintain control of the MRDT funds and create a new budget for the tourism commission.
Just on experience, I have sat in through my previous working with Vancouver Island North Tourism on the Port Hardy Tourism Committee, and yeah, they submit a budget. Their budget is given to them from the MRDT money, but they're not given. My understanding is they're not given all of the MRDT money to just do what they want. It's kind of, so they have to come with a plan, and that's where their budgeted money comes from. Councillor Cole?
Yes, thank you. Just to your point about the page 37 staff liaison, I mean, it does say may delegate, or CAO may delegate, so we're making that decision to delegate now. Just from a practical standpoint, do we not need somebody there to open up the facilities anyways? I guess a question for our CAO. Like, we're having a meeting in the town hall, it's easy to say, yeah, nobody's, one of the members of the tourism committee can be the secretary, but are we not opening up the facility for them anyways?
We didn't have staff support for the harbor. I was at the town office. Maybe is one of the basement the town office. When Lucas is there for support, then we've been going and meeting in the office. I think that's a thing we could probably ebb and flow as a fair amount, but.
Well, and if there is a council member, the council member could be responsible for opening up
And if they're unavailable, that would be up to the CAO to send somebody in or trust the key with somebody or whatever.
Yeah, and I would imagine there's going to be a liaison and an alternate as well.
Should have another,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to bring up, so on membership, page 36. But with voting members, at first I thought 9 seemed like a lot, but I see quorum is 5. And by experience, that's sometimes it's hard to get people together. So I think that's fine. I'm really not sure about a member of our council having a voting position because, you know, when I was on the Harbor Commission, there weren't voting positions. And I feel it goes against a lot of the spirit of our boot camp training and whatnot. When a council person has a vote like that at the table, they really can steer things, or there's an intimidating factor for the other members. So that council person would hopefully be an awesome support, and their vote and weight should have the same at this table. So that's my big concern with this and the next museum.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one. Any other comments? So your suggestion would be for that council member to slide into the non-voting category,
Yes.
non-voting representative.
Or just have that, yeah, the voting membership.
How does the majority of council feel
So
I agree with that.
about that? Mayor?
I'm not sure.
So currently they're saying there'd be 9 members of the tourism group.
Yeah.
And 1 would be the council liaison person.
Right.
So the way this is written, they're a voting member of that committee.
So they could be the tiebreaker.
It could be the tiebreaker or more. My main concern is
Just the spirit of
the
it.
ability to steer the process or that. Yeah, and the tiebreaker as well. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that the idea is liaison is you liaise between the commission and the, you know, and you're relaying information. You're not really there to, yeah.
My vision is that you're kind of keeping them on the path of what council and what they say, what they've told council they're gonna do, and what council's told them to do, and you're trying to keep them between the ditches. But if you have an even number of votes, then you may never get anywhere. Is that right?
Well,
You
you
did
still
7.
go back to not, you still go back to 9. It's just that
Just
is a
the
liaison person.
liaison doesn't count, so
Yeah.
it can be 10 people that meet.
But if you say 7, 6 could show up. I'm not sure how that works,
Obviously.
right? You still have quorum, but it's a tie. Our CAO can clarify that.
How many members do we have currently on the committees, just out of, before you answer that question?
It looks like 9 as well.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, and then so if there was 6, let's say, show up and they have quorum and they have a tie, what happens then? Is it just like we're at a stalemate? Okay. Same thing.
So someone would be referred to, if there's enough people to break a tie. Or
No, then it's, whatever motion they make, or if they
Doesn't
want to
move
move forward, it
forward.
just sort of falls, or they table it till they have
Sure.
quorum.
The chair doesn't have the option of breaking a tie, like that's your case.
Well, I think, no, that mine actually isn't that way. The chair, it's always been a perception that the mayor breaks the tie, but it's not that way. The
If a
mayor's
tie-
all the time, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Rickham. I think you just got my point. The commissions would be required to follow the same procedures as the council procedure bylaw.
Well, taking out the voting of the liaison is going to get us through first and second reading, and I'd be really happy with that.
So I think we've got majority agreement that 5 is struck, and, you know, and that, is that correct? That staff, there won't be a staff liaison?
I don't have an issue with leaving it in there that the CAO can, because if you've got a group that, say, is all 20-year-olds and nobody understands where the rules are, like the tie breaking and everything, and you need to put somebody in there, then you've still got that. I can always, the CAO, I have that power, I can put somebody in there, or that ability to do that. But I don't think that, how about it needs to be, I don't think it needs to be in a commission. A committee, maybe, advisory committee, I can see having staff there, because you need that interaction with staff in order to be advisory. But if it's a commission and they're preparing a plan and they're bringing it to council and council saying, yep, go for it, that's your thing for the year, then you just want to make sure that they don't get this in their head that, you know, hey, no, the administration can't interfere with us, but it just leaves a back door so that administration can come in if there's a problem where they need to, just as a safeguard.
What about if we change that wording from the chief administrative officer from time to time may delegate staff?
Well, with respect, it kind of means the same as may. We could just do a whole separate motion directing our CAO to work with the committees so staff don't have to come every night. Or, you know what I mean?
Like, I think from a bylaw point of view, I would leave it in there. so
Yes,
that it may- And then once you get up and running, you'll get an idea of the committee, how organized they are, how much support they're gonna need.
Well, and I think my point only was I don't want to see staff in there taking minutes. They can have a secretary on the committee who can take the minutes. And I think, so long as it's clear that, yes, I agree, from time, you know, they're going to need staff liaison every now and then. Go ahead, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor Rickstrom. Might I suggest if we don't have it in here, perhaps listing out the mandatory positions of the commission. So a chair, a vice chair,
And a secretary. Okay, that makes sense. That's all the problem for me. How does everybody feel about that? Adding chair, vice chair, and
Yeah, it's got to
And
be
secretary?
the reporting secretary.
does it? Oh, shoot.
Number 6. So it says the corporate officer.
I got hung up on that one.
Yeah, the corporate officer will tell them what they gotta do and how they gotta do it.
Okay,
Gives them a
excellent.
timeframe.
I'm fine with the way it is. Apologies. I'm thinking of in terms of what we've been doing and didn't get past that.
So,
Yeah.
one more point of clarification to our CAO. So would this possibly set up a scenario where the Tourism Advisory Committee is putting out a contract and whoever's got that, say, contract for the web development or something is reporting to the committee? Is that
Commission.
intention of the commission? The commission, like they're going to be essentially a board of directors in charge of budget and with contractors involved.
Correct. Yeah, this changing them from a committee to a commission gives them, you would be delegating powers to them to operate more like our public works department, to our fire department, it would be another arm of the town of Fort McNeil. It would just be eliminating that immediate staff and council oversight.
And just one more thing, and how would this commission work with the new tourism position? Do they answer to that person or directly to you, the commission? Is that?
The commission, if they were wanting to use the new tourism manager, would have to work with me and with the tourism manager.
And their budgets could play together.
I would have to see.
Yeah.
See how that takes.
Thank you.
So then I think what I've heard is the only change would be to add that council liaison to a non-voting position. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so first and second reading them with those changes, with that change? Sorry, I should read that properly.
Yeah. Can that be a motion and actually
Yep.
sort of this?
So that the Tourism Committee bylaw number 706/2021 be given first and second reading with the change of council liaison being non-voting member. Check that out. Yeah.
And has there already been a motion to say that we're not going to have a secretary?
No, it's in
No.
here because I missed that. It says right here, commission recording secretary, so.
And
It says in there that the commission would have a secretary.
I understand that, so we're not providing, because I see staff support, what's staff support talking about here?
That would
What I don't
be,
want to see is adding more staff costs to run a commission that's going to want a budget, and it's going to be another thing for us to try and keep under control so that we run away with our taxes. Trying to figure out how are we controlling this, how are we we have to have the oversight on it, right?
that's with them providing us a budget and a plan. And then at the end of the year, they submit their report on their deliverables, and they have to show that they followed the plan. Just like Vancouver Island North Tourism does with the regional district. Similar.
And the staff liaison is just. We were leaving in the staff liaison part. May delegate. First 2 meetings you may go to just to get them off and running and make sure everything's going well, and then may not go back in for 2 years.
And if I may add, support and resources, so, we want them to come and use the photocopier, not run out and buy a new one, like, it goes both ways too, so.
Sorry, just clarity, we can do first and second reading at the same time? Right, okay, yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, should that not say a council liaison? That was what we were
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about.
sorry, it is council liaison, a non-voting member, but. Yeah. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried.
I'm not real happy with that, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, then moving along to museum committee, request to be appointed as a commission. So, Councillor Barron, did you want to, I know that you gave a report to council. Anything you want to add?
I'll take questions by all means if there's anything we would like, but we want to, it was not saying council does not vote. We want to do that right now just to clean it up and keep it consistent. So I think that's great here.
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
Mayor Wickstrom. Yeah, I'm in favor of that. Could you just expand on tactical participation plan? Like, I know what a tactical plan is, but is that just, yeah, sorry.
I guess the group of ladies, the thought was they wanted to actually be able to present to council how they would be involving different groups, different, there's a list there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they wanted to be able to actually give that to council so that council had an idea of how, who was being affected or participating. So that's why the extra P went in there. They wanted it to be part
Yeah,
of it.
they've checked the boxes, like there's lots of groups in here and stuff. But it's like it's open to everybody.
They really felt it's really low hanging fruit, and it could be a real busy hub if it was allowed to be.
And back to the budget item, do we currently have a budget for the museum that we would have a rough idea of what we've been spending the last, or I guess we were giving money to a society before, so if we had an idea of how much that was, that might be helpful.
Do you recall the dollar figure?
Thank you. I believe it was between $12,000 and $15,000. The services for access.
That was outside of insurance,
Yeah.
electricity, security, Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Councilor Barron, is the current group aware of that money that was spent before? Like, would they have bigger ambitions of a budget, or is it too soon to say?
I think it's too soon to say. They definitely had some ideas around accessing some of the COVID money to make the museum accessible in a different way, and a lot of it was electronic. So actually a couple of really good scanners so that you can scan those old newspapers that maybe aren't going to live much longer than they already are, and cataloging old photographs, and then they were hoping, pie in the sky maybe, but they were hoping you would actually get to a point where you'd have some sort of a digital archive that could be searched externally. Like that would be their pie in the sky, but the start was have a participation night where you say anybody who's got old hockey pictures, we're going to be there from 1 till 5, bring them down, scan them, start getting them identified, who the people were, who the participants are, you know, in the weeds, I know, but
And just one follow-up question, do they anticipate like a paid staff or anything,
No.
or? No?
they figured it would be all volunteer. They figured if they
With
were.
summer students and.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you'd present a budget. My anticipation would be in the first year, it might be more than in subsequent years, just to get it going again. Okay. All right, make motion that the Heritage Commission bylaw number 707/2021 be given first and second reading with the change that the council liaison is a non-voting member. Seven oh seven 2021 be given first and second reading. And that the council liaison be a non-voting member, same as the law. The mover for that.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that? One, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Chair. 10A 2021 holiday recognition. So they're looking for council feedback on the holiday. Go ahead, Councillor Gunn.
My thought on this is that somewhere in the budget, there is money, I'm gonna call it discretionary, just for my mind. There's discretionary money that can and has been used in the past for a staff dinner. Just call it that. Last 2 years, we had COVID issues and this donation occurred instead of being able to have the dinner. My thought is we've already approved the budget. That's already there. I think this, I really don't think it's a council decision. I think they're staff's people, staff manages them. I don't know what status is. I don't know if you had a party, if nobody could come because they're not all vaccinated. I think that we have guidelines around how you have a gathering. I think you know your staff. You might be like, hey, they need it. And if that's what needs to happen, if that's what management thinks should be managed, then that's what should be done. And if you want to have an option where somebody doesn't want to go, their $50 should be donated, then do that. But I really don't think it's our decision to make. I think it's the staff. We've already approved the budget, so I really don't think it's our decision to make.
Comments? I kind of feel the same way. I feel it's a staff party and I would throw it back to staff to say what they want to do.
And maybe you decide that you're take that budget and you're buying everybody a top hat this year. Because that's what everybody, that will make people feel valued and part of the team, and that's what is needed. I don't know, but not my staff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. The reason I did bring this forward to Mayor and Council is this. I appreciate what you're saying about a staff decision, but this does affect Mayor, Council, and staff as a whole. As typically we've got together as an entire unit and celebrated the holiday season together. We haven't been able to since the strike and COVID. And so this is why I want to council for your input to see, whether or not it's money better spent for donations or for team building.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think staff gatherings like this are really not big in terms of what they take out of the budget So they're there more for morale building and camaraderie than anything else. And right now, those kinds of activities are definitely curtailed by the guidelines coming from the provincial health office. And it might be difficult to have a free gathering of 40 or 50 people. Sitting around the table having a meal, which isn't a bad thing, right? It's a great thing. And it helps to foster good relations between people, and I think it's worthwhile. I'm not sure if this year we can do that. I don't know. I haven't examined that topic that closely, but I think that the provincial health guidelines need to be rolled into the mix. But I don't think it should be about saving 50 or $100 from it. It should be about investing in our staff, investing in relationships a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. I'd like to make a motion, we accept the recommendation. I think Pete's asking us to make his decision here. They might call him a party pooper. Party, so he's asking us to make the call, so I'm just gonna make the motion that we follow the recommendation in the report.
Okay, seconder for that motion. Any further discussion?
Yeah, can I just ask, Pete, when you wrote this report, you made that recommendation, were you even considering having a staff gathering? And I don't think we're talking about 40, 50 people, but how many people are we actually talking about staff wise? And even 50, I think, is the magic number. And it's a restaurant, it's that's birds. So I guess I don't want to support this if that wasn't a consideration that you had in your opinion. That makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilor Barron, it definitely was a consideration. We did talk about it in the office at length during one of our staff meetings, and the topic did come up. Can everybody gather in one place? Or if we're having it at a restaurant, will everybody be allowed to go? So my recommendation was based on the inkling that no, not everybody would be able to.
Okay, that's what I needed to hear. Thanks.
And I would vote against this motion simply because I think it would be great for staff to go back and ask, for management to go back and ask staff, if what they would like to do. They want to do a gift certificate, maybe they all want a vest with an embroidered Town of Port McNeill on it. I don't know. Maybe they do want to have all get together. Maybe they're just tired of being apart. So for that reason, I won't support the motion. Okay. I'm sorry.
Derek made the motion, Ryan seconded it.
Yeah.
Would you take a friendly amendment, Derek, for staff to go back to determine how best, or you just feel staff saying, do we give certificates, do we give certificates?
Yeah, I'd like to let it stand. It sounded like they had a meeting, already about it, discussed it.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 10B. So myself and Councillor Downey have both come on a few occasions to let council know that the 4 Indigenous nations, as well as Port Hardy, Port McNeill, Port Alice, Alert Bay, and the regional district are all working together to try to come to some sort of solution to these prolonged and frequent power outages. And so this letter has been drafted that you see here, and the group, Mayor Dugas has his name on the bottom. That's just because we've been meeting up in Port Hardy, because that's a central location for everybody. Would like to know what they're trying to do is get all of us to sign on to this letter for the application for some funding to be able to North Island Electricity Reliability Coalition, by adding our name to the attached letter, which is going to ask for funding to do a feasibility study for North Island power reliability. This is one of the things that was determined. They felt like we have to actually see what's feasible, what's out there, what can we tap into. And that will require some sort of expertise that those of us around the table just do not have.
So it was on the letter.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Item 10C, any council reports? Any verbal to report?
Thank you.
Okay. There are no items from in camera to be made public. But I would like a motion for council to go in camera under 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an employee, an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. Also, section 91J, information that is prohibited, or information that if were presented in a document were prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. And section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provisions of a municipal service that are in their preliminary stages and that, in the view of council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Did you ever do that?
I'll move that.
Do you want to see that written
Next
down?
one.
Do you want that typed out? Okay, seconder, sorry. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. There's no media. Any questions from the public? Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us, sir. So motion to adjourn and go in camera. Moved, seconded, all in favor?